Right, Bria. So good to visit with you today.
I know, you too. I'm really looking forward to it. The Rezzimax is just, it's been amazing for my CRPS and gastroparesis, and I've kind of discovered just happenstance that it helped with my anxiety, and which makes sense, it's the vagus nerve, but I'm excited to learn more. So
Great. So first of all, recap a little bit for me. How long have you had it and what has been your progress so far?
yes, so I actually have complex PTSD, which just means I experienced trauma over a very long period of time throughout my childhood. I've had it since I was a kid, actually, but it wasn't diagnosed until, let's see, 12 years ago. And that's really when it was at its heightened point. So I've been in counseling for 12 years, trauma counseling, and kind of opening that box, things got really a lot worse. But I have come a very long way. My counselors told me, multiple different counselors told me that I've had a very severe case, to the point where I wasn't leaving my house. I wasn't present at all. Disassociation is a big thing for me. So my symptoms usually, flashbacks are my biggest symptom, but I'm down to probably 2 during the day, and then at night it is really bad still. I have pretty severe insomnia. What happens is I'll try to go to sleep. Sometimes I'll fall asleep, but then I'll have a nightmare, and that kicks in my adrenaline, and then that will spur on a flashback, and then more adrenaline, and then it just goes in this cycle. So it's kind of
That's not fun. Tell me about your progress with your CRPS and everything else as well there.
Yeah. So since the Spiro clinic,
Remind me when you were there. I
was there this last 2020 spring. Wait, okay. 2021 spring. So gotcha. Almost a year ago. And just to remind you, I had CRPS for 19 years. So the worst possible place before Spiro clinic. I was completely losing my life. And now I'd say 90% in remission. The last 2 threads, I know it's incredible. I say that so casually because I say it so much, but it's not a casual thing at all. But yeah, I guess the last 2 threads that I think are holding that 10%, I have the Epstein-Barr virus, which is kind of keeping the gastroparesis here. And then PTSD, really, when my adrenaline kicks in, CRPS will often kick in with that. So
they follow very similar channels.
Yeah.
And well, maybe they follow the same channels. I don't know. They seem to be stored in the same place in the brain, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of ways to use our tools, as you've noticed, for anxiety, as well as depression and all the other related issues that are kind of internal. Nobody sees them, but they're all having to do with what we've been through and how our bodies responded to it. So I think that'd be perfect to go through those. And awesome. I actually had the opportunity to share some of these things with Dr. Katinka just a few weeks ago. And we spent some time, we were together for a couple of days at her conference in Atlanta, and we got to brainstorm on some ways to be able to help even better. So you're one of the first people that, at least for me, I get to share some of these things with you. I know that they're incorporating some of these things at the Spiro Clinic right now for others going through the process, and I know that they're helping. I've heard that. So well, here's what we'll do, okay?
Hey.
Remind me where you have your CRPS when it hits.
It was all over my body, but I'd say particularly it's my upper abdomen that will come up. Still is kind of a stickler.
Okay. Have you been able to tolerate doing the stomach techniques with the tuner, the abdominal techniques with it, or are they too much for you?
Yeah, so my spot really is right here.
Oh, are you able to tolerate it on your legs, for example?
Yes.
And you have you strapped it on and do some of the activities with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and let me just take you through the process because I think that'll be easiest.
Okay.
If you'll strap it, turn it on to one of your favorite patterns or algorithms. And strap it to your calf on your non-dominant or weaker side of your body. You right-handed?
I'm left-handed.
Left-handed, so strap it to your right leg, right calf.
Okay.
All right, so with that running some interference patterns through the weaker hemisphere of your brain, because that's where that messaging is going to, it creates a great opportunity to go ahead and change some of the chemistry with experiences that you've had.
Really?
So we want to rewrite trauma code.
Yeah.
And there's several ways to do this, but running that interference pattern is a huge start. The second thing we'll have you do is go ahead and you've got a desk there, push against the desk, push with your hands against the desk, and you'll notice that it engages your core muscles, right? As you push down. And if you just kind of pull up your knees just a little bit, you get your lower abdominal involved there too, right?
Yep.
So we're gonna walk you through a little exercise in this process. Keep that position, keep that push down, keep that pull up, and put your right leg back behind. So kind of underneath you a little bit more. Yep. Put it back behind or as far back as you can kind of reach it.
Okay.
In this positioning, you're going to turn your head towards your left shoulder. So your left shoulder. I was going to say, unless the camera's flipping you.
I was watching is what got me.
Yeah, I've always gotten my right and lefts a little mixed up, so don't watch me. But as you turn towards your left side and you're engaging your abdominal muscles, you're pushing down, you're pulling up, and with this funny positioning contortion you got going on, I want you to think for just 30 seconds about a particular experience that you would like to change right now in the next few minutes. You want to change your body response to that particular event or series of events. Have you got something that's come to mind?
Mm-hmm.
Right. You don't need to tell me about it. This is all done internally. So as you're pushing, I want you to bring up every detail and thought you can about the event for 20 seconds. You can give yourself 20 seconds to think about it, and then we're going to shut off that process, okay?
Okay.
We want to make sure that you know that it's safe and that you've got control of it. As you're doing that, I want you now to stop thinking about what you went through, and I want you to focus on your breathing in this pattern. You follow me, okay?
Okay.
Breathe out. Keep pushing. Breathe out. Stop. Don't breathe in. Breathe out some more. Stop. Don't breathe in. Breathe out all the rest. When you're completely out of air, stay there as long as you can and think about things you're super grateful for. Bria, I've watched some of your posts and I know some of the things you're super grateful for. One of the keys to this, completely relax for a few seconds and let's talk about it.
Okay.
Before you started the exercise, whatever it was that came to mind, where was it on the Richter scale, 0 to 10?
I'd say it's a 10.
As you went through that little exercise and we had you go through some pushing, some breathing, some funny twisting gyrations of your body and all this messaging going to your brain, where are you at now on the scale?
I don't even know, because I guess if I would put a number on it, like a 6, because my body, like, I'm thinking about that right now, and I just don't feel that instant tension and wall, and like, don't even go there. It's like this, I don't even know how to explain it, like this euphoria kind of over my body right now.
Well, the cool thing about this process is we've just given you a recipe for how to break up trauma chemicals in your brain and how to replace them with very, very strong positive things. So I want to walk you through it just a little bit, because you may want to share this with a lot of other people, and this is a neat process. By sending all this stimulus to the brain, especially to that weaker side of the brain, if you were right-handed, we'd put it on your left leg. But since you're left-handed, we keep it on your right leg. And by engaging those core muscles at the same time, having you think of things that you went through at that particular stage brings up the chemicals of it.
Wow.
But there's something much more important than the chemicals and the stress and the trauma of what you went through. And that was need for oxygen.
Wow.
So by having you do that little distinct pattern of breathing out, stopping, gives a little pause for the chemicals. Breathing out, stopping, that's something that you're controlling fully, and it's completely vagus nerve driven.
Wow.
Vagus nerve controls your breathing. But there's a part of your primitive brain that is saying, whatever you're doing, quit it because I need air.
Yeah.
And so as you're controlling that process, and when you get to the point when you're completely out of air after the third exhalation, if you hold as long as you can at that point, engaging all of those core muscles and focus your energy, your thoughts on those things that you're super grateful for, the things that are most important to you. Your brain, when it looks at the teeter-totter, says that stuff that happened is not nearly as important as right now. I've got to breathe and I need to focus on those things that are super important, because you're controlling that and you're telling yourself essentially when you're going to allow breath to occur.
Wow.
And then when you let breath in, it dissipates all kinds of chemicals of what you went through and replaces them. That euphoria feeling is actually your brain centering stronger on what is most important to you, Bria.
Wow.
What is most important to you is not focusing on what you've been through, but focusing on where you are right now, that breathing itself is the most important thing that you can do right in this moment to keep moving forward another step. And the things that you're grateful for, the little packet of serotonin and dopamine and oxytocin and all these natural chemicals that your body needs on a regular basis to help it heal from things, it injects those into the system, helping you break apart the road of trauma.
Connection, that well-worn path that my brain just goes down. That's incredible. And that makes so much sense, but it's just like fascinating. Wow.
So let's go through it several times, and then I'll tell you other ways that you can do this that can help you even further, okay?
Okay.
Let's go through it several times. So I'm going to give you less words and let you go through the process more on your own. I'm just going to give you little cues to help you through the process, okay?
Okay.
So right foot is back, left foot is forward, Abdominal engagement.
Yep.
Pulling the knees up just slightly so you get the lower abdominal engagement. Turning your head towards your left side. See how that I did that? I turned mine towards the right to be able to help you. This is an important, I didn't explain why this happens, but it's all in this big muscle right here, this big sternocleidomastoid muscle.
Okay.
There's a lot of trauma held in that muscle itself. When
Tension. Yeah.
a lot of it's held up in these muscles here. So by turning your head towards your dominant side, we're actually stretching out the muscles on that stronger side of you so that they can't pull as hard. We're just setting it up so that your body can produce more of the calm down chemicals, less of the fight or flight chemicals. Okay.
Amazing. Yeah.
So let's go through that process. Turning your head, pulling up, pushing down, thinking about what you went through for a little while, because it's a little more safe now, but you still recognize that there's a lot of things there that you'd like to change the way you feel about what you went through. Pushing down, take a big breath in. Up, out. The next little while, think of only things you're super, super grateful for. No worries about what you've been through. Only what's super important. And when you have to, you come up for air in a big way. Breathing is super important, isn't it?
It is.
How far down did we get it now? 0 to 10, where are we at?
Probably a 5.
Great. You'll start noticing that the further down you get, the more that you realize that that particular thing that you're working on has its tentacles in all kinds of other experiences that you've had. Did you notice that as you're trying to go through the process, you started thinking of other things that are involved in this particular so you may have a lot of things to work on. This process, this set of exercises, we suggest to people that they go through it 7 times in a row for 1 day. Okay. We've done twice. So okay. 5 more times we go through the process and we continue to just change the chemical reactions, change the chemical responses. And after 7 times, we say, okay, I'm done for the day. We give it up for today and we'll come back at it tomorrow. And each day you'll notice that the way that you respond to things that you've been through is going to start changing.
Wow.
Notice that what you thought was important that you're working on today may not be a big deal tomorrow, but something else somewhat related is a really big deal. And so you work on those things daily to change the way your body reacts to them.
So then are you focusing on just one memory? Because like there's a lot there. So like, yeah, how would you recommend moving forward with that?
So sometimes, I mean, it's better if you can work on one memory. Example, this is going to be something easy. We'll not, you chose a hard thing. I have no idea what you chose, but you did because that's what your brain is saying, I need help with. Bria, I need help with this.
Yes.
So let's choose something that was just like something rather embarrassing, but happened during the first 10 years of your life. And you know, I've got a bunch of those and everybody does, but just bring one of those things to mind and tell me when you were there at the moment, where was it on the Richter scale?
Well, is it the same scale as my trauma scale? Because if so, it's like not even on the scale. But the embarrassment scale, let's see. Let's say it's a 7 as a 10-year-old.
I get it. So if we were to go through the same process with that particular thing, watch how it changes, but try and focus on that particular thing and everything you can remember around it, where you were, the time of day, the time of year, sights, sounds, smells, anything that lightens, that just lights up your brain in that particular thing, words that you heard, somebody that laughed, those kinds of things, facial expressions. Bring anything that you can to that. And then when you get to that point when you're out of air, I want you to just think about, things that you're super grateful for and the fact that you lived through that, and just express gratitude for it. And watch what happens. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, let's go through that one. Always that same pattern of spending about 20 seconds or so just trying to bring up anything that you can. And some traumas you don't remember. So you just bring up whatever you can remember, or what you've heard from others, or what you think might have happened. And you just bring that up, because sometimes just thinking of what might have happened that you weren't there is just as strong as being there and going through something. And when you're ready, you go through the breathing. Now, the neat thing about something like that, Bria, is you already know in the grand scheme of life that was not a big deal. But it was a big deal to your 10-year-old self.
Totally.
It was a huge deal. But can you see how the feeling that you get of going through that process with that embarrassing thing, how different that is from the traumas that you were working on?
Yes. Like I don't even really have a reaction right now towards it, except maybe a little smile, like about the embarrassing moment. It's just, yeah, that's crazy. I don't even know how to explain it, because it's like I feel it in my brain and body. It's crazy. Very fascinating.
You know that you feel differently about it if you could sit and tell somebody about it and just laugh with them, because
right.
It probably was very
minute,
yeah, in comparison. So with that thought, let's go back and try and work on your original trauma that you're working on now. Okay. But let's add this in. When you get to the point of, and let me back up and bring out one more important point. Bria, from what I can tell, you're safe now. You're in a safe spot. You've been able to build a life around you, some relationships with animals, your spouse, very important things that you didn't have safety when you went through most of this stuff that started off the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's really important that I help you understand, or anybody understand. This is real difficult to accomplish when you're still living the nightmare.
Yes.
But since you're now at a different place, it's a lot easier to change the chemistry of what you went through and your reactions to it, because we can ground you in what you now have created and built.
Yeah.
And what's that?
Just catch my mind up with the present, because it's stuck in the past.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm constantly trying to do, is show it time has passed and I'm safe. But yeah, there's a disconnect.
Exactly. So you've got the right understanding, and I just wanted to make sure that was clear for others that may see this in the future. So one of the other really important things to let's switch you just a little bit and say that when you are completely out of air this time, stop, instead of just thinking about things you're super grateful for, I want you to see if you can actually take that 20 seconds or so when you're out of breath and create a relationship with yourself from where you've been. Meaning, we'll express gratitude, sure, but I want you to actually see if you can find a way to in your mind say, you know what, I went through a lot, but I no longer take ownership of that.
Okay.
I put that in the past, and the Bria of now is moving forward. No longer need to be holding on to that. I want you to just go through those words in any way that you feel comfortable, and let that work on that time when you're completely out of air. Okay.
Okay.
Ready to watch it. Always pushing down, always turning the head. Thinking for just a little bit about all that went on that you can bring up. A piece that sometimes you don't get to feel, huh?
You literally just took the words out of my mouth. I was about to say, I don't experience peace in my body and brain very often. And it's amazing. Yeah, this is unreal. Really amazing.
Tell me, always liking to gauge things by the numbers. If you go back to that, whatever you were working on, where's it at now?
I'd say it's like a 3.5 in this moment.
The neat thing about this process in the coming days is that your brain doesn't completely process what you just did. It doesn't make sense. You've been holding on to the pain for so long. Your brain doesn't understand, you know, that it just feels different.
Yeah.
And it's actually, it takes about 24 to 48 hours and 1 or 2 sleep cycles for your brain to make sense of everything that you just did and reconstruct some new pathways.
Wow.
Those new pathways will be rooted in the things that you spent your time reflecting on during that 30 seconds or so, or 20 seconds when you're completely out of air and just holding, but saying, I'm going to wait as long as I can because I want these chemicals to keep changing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
All the while, that tuner is sending messages into the brain that it can now use as part of the road base. So it's helping your brain to actually be able to create new pathways.
That is amazing. Rewiring the brain, pretty much.
On steroids.
Yeah.
because
Wow.
you've been trying to do this for so long.
Yes.
But your primitive brain doesn't understand how to do it. It just wants to remember what you've been through so that you don't go through it again.
Yeah.
But we're using your rational part of your brain to say, wait a minute, I'm the one that's in control. I'm Bria. I'm strong. I can do so much to help other people once I understand how to control this in myself.
Yeah. Amazing. I don't have words. This is so incredible. I've never experienced like an instant relief like that. It's all about slow little steps to get that relief so far in my journey. So it's really amazing. And I know there's a ton of work, but yeah, it's incredible.
A ton of work, but let me show you a couple of things that you can do that help enhance that. And you might not bring the video to help you, but we just taught in our conference this last or a week ago. I don't know if you watched any of that, but it'll be available in video soon. But I showed a way that you can actually get this even stronger. And there are a few ways that you can do it. If you have an exercise ball nearby,
I don't.
exercise ball, it becomes a big chew toy for the dogs, huh?
Exactly.
But a big exercise ball, you can actually hug and squeeze that and turn your head to the side and do that same thing, but it's just a whole body squeeze.
Please. Okay.
And you can at least visualize it, right?
Huh.
The other thing that we'll sometimes do is take like rope or straps, and we'll strap it into the inside of a door or around a tree or something, and have you actually holding, or if I were to be like this, it would be pulling
Yeah.
and back at the same time that you're going through this little process.
Okay.
But always the same, the process is the same, but you can engage your body in different ways or different positions to help engage those chemicals. And you may find that one of those ways works a lot stronger for you than even what we're doing right now.
Yeah. That's amazing.
This is life-changing. So this may be the only reason that I went through my master's degree program in counseling, was just so that I could understand some of these concepts a little bit better.
Well, I'm so glad you
do. It combines a very physical, mental, emotional release that I've never seen happen. And it's not just a release, because I think many techniques are designed to, release some of your sensation or feeling about it, but you've actually got to replace it. And creating that little narrow window of time when you're out of air completely, you have to replace the pathways and the sensations that are all geared in trauma. You have to replace them with things that are much more important for you and for what you're going to do in your future.
Yes, that's what I want. That's my desire.
So we've gone through the process, what, 4 or 5 times? Where are you down to now?
Like a 3.5.
So next time we go through it, I want the Bria of right now to focus your energy completely when you get to that point when you're completely out of air. I want you to focus your energy on something extremely important. So I want you to think about it for just a minute or so, okay?
Okay.
That is, every one of us who goes through traumatic experiences, we blame ourselves in some way for what we went through. This time when you get to that point where you're completely out of air, I want you to stop thinking about what you went through, but I want you to focus entirely on the Bria of now, forgive self of any component that I feel like I had going through those processes, going through whatever you went through. And if you have close family members or others that you feel may have let you down through the process, because that's going to be part of what's holding it still in there. And learn how to forgive others. The Bria of now and the Bria of then doesn't have a full picture of everything that is involved. We don't. You don't know. You know, you may hold some blame for somebody that you don't know their story. You don't know what they went through. You don't know, you know, do you know what I mean? This is sometimes a little bit of a hard conversation, but forgiveness is critical in this process. Forgiveness does not make things right. If wrongs have occurred, you know, the forgiveness doesn't make those right.
Right.
Forgiveness just allows the Bria of now to stop holding on to the pain of guilt. And all of that that's centered in the past. It lets you not hold on to that so that you can build a future and a present better. We want the Bria of now to be able to be 100% now. The way to get there is to forgive and let go and say, I'm not going to hold on to that anymore. It's beyond me. If you have, you know, if you have a strong relationship with a higher power, you can give that over to that being, that power in your life, because that's the only power that has power to do something about what you went through. You can't make it right. You can forgive, and forgive yourself. Super important. Do you understand?
Absolutely, I do. Yep, forgiveness is for me, not for those who harmed me.
Yeah. And as you go through the process this time, I'm not going to say anything till you get done, because this is a very personal, spiritual experience that you get to have. Higher power, in whatever form that is for you. Go through the process. Sometimes I recommend it's a good idea to have a pile of tissues nearby, because
Trauma can release in tears.
They did research on people reliving their trauma, that their tears actually hold some of the chemistry of the trauma. It's a pattern, but their tears will hold the chemicals of adrenaline and cortisol and these, fired up chemicals that were occurring during the experience. They're actually relived and let out in part through those beautiful tears.
Amazing.
What are you doing now?
I'd say it's around a 2.
Feel how that made kind of a distinct little shift for you or change for you?
Yep.
It's hard to understand that, but I've had the opportunity to go through this process myself. I came to understand it because I think that my higher power needed me to understand some things. And so little bits and pieces of understanding of how to do this came into my own life to help me understand how to make peace with things that I've been through.
Amazing.
And life-changing for me. So I've spent a lot of time pondering on this, on how to make it work stronger for a person, how to change things. But I think you're getting a very good understanding and sense of how powerful and profound it can be to make these changes and then spend your time, instead of being stuck in what you've been through, spend your time in building where you're going to be.
Yep. That's what I desire. If this could, I think the biggest symptom that keeps me stuck there, I mean, there's a lot with PTSD, but it's the flashbacks. I relive the trauma every day in my brain, and it makes it really hard to distinguish a past and the present. And who knows what this could do? So,
well, and it paints your present, when you look at the things happening through your trauma eyes or trauma lenses, you're not sure if you're getting a very good view of reality, or even if it's actually real, or if it's fleeting, or whether to trust it. It's very tough for somebody who's been through an awful lot.
Yeah.
So you're going to experience quite a few changes in the coming days. I think we've been through the process 5 times. I want to, in the last time or two, I want to focus your brain on just a couple of things, okay?
Okay.
I think you understand a lot of the concepts, but when you go through the exercise this next time, I want you to actually focus on not any particular event. Focus on how you feel about this whole flashback experience. Has been going on for such a long time for Bria. Way too long. But it is hardwired into your neural circuits. And I want you to just do it about how you feel about your brain being hijacked on a regular basis, and the sensation that gives. And I'll tell you what, we're getting to your very core of your stomach issues with this one, okay?
Okay.
Feel that sense of, a little bit of explosion in your CRPS stomach stuff as we go through that process. But this time we're not doing memories. We're just doing feeling sensation about something that is such a big part of what you've got to be able to change. And when you get to that point, when you're completely out of air, I want you to literally beg your higher power to show you how to completely, for you, break those patterns apart and how to construct a beautiful future from the ashes.
Okay. Sounds good.
You're on your own. I'm just going to sit back here and pray for you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you just a little bit.
Okay.
But is your right leg under you or is it connected to the floor?
It's under me.
Can you connect it to the floor but put it behind? Is there
Yeah.
reason
Whoops.
for that?
I just
Oh, you're
dropped
good. You're good. The reason for this is I want to completely ground you in both sides of you, if that makes sense. I think it's going to make it even stronger for you. So yeah, get it back in place. I want those feet connected to the earth.
All right. Okay.
Okay. But it
Yes.
will be behind you. So it's
Yes,
kind
it's
of under
behind.
the chair. Good. Awesome. Now you go ahead and back to where you were. Feel like to you?
What was that?
What does that feel like to you, Bria?
Really good. Just that, more of that peace that I don't experience. A little bit of a weight lifted off of me. Really good.
Going to help you build and head in the right direction.
Yes.
So this very last time for today, and you're done for today at the end of this one. I want you just simply to get to the end, focus on what you've been through, what you've learned in the last, 50 minutes, what you're experiencing, what you've been through. Those are the things to do in the preparation time. When you get completely out of air this time, I want you to do what I call a gratitude prayer. I want you to just list out as many of the things that you're super grateful for as you can. And when you get done and you come up for air, I want you to tell me how many things you're able to come up with in your mind.
Okay. Sounds good.
Go. You're doing this. Add in one more component. Your head. And at your head, think of the frequencies you're feeling down in your foot, down in your leg, through your body, and hum to them as you go through it. Well, you wanted to get a few last ones in there, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
You broke out for a second.
How many wonderful things were you able to come up with that you're super, super grateful for?
I think around 15.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Cool. Back to your beginning. You started off working on a really, really difficult particular thing, and I have no idea what it is, but you feel rather exposed when you bring it up to your mind. It's like, man, I'm an open book and anybody looking at me can see what I've been through. That's how vulnerable it feels. But when you think back on that particular thing, where are we at now?
I think a 2.
That's pretty cool. If you can
It's
get it down to, if you can get it down to a 1 or 2 from a 10, your brain will make a lot of adjustments over the next 24 to 48 hours and put it back into a better perspective. And you will, with that particular thing, you will not go into the flashbacks. You will not go into so much of the painful stuff with it. You're rewriting the code and putting down new road base already, new pathways.
That is incredible. And I can't wait to watch all this play out. Seriously, can't enough. Here's
what I recommend. You do it again tomorrow. You can go through that a lot faster without me slowing you down, of course. You might try it in another, technique or position, pulling or using a ball or something, or several pillows or something like that, and find your best way to do it. I recommend that a person go through it 7. It goes like this. 6 periods of 7s seems to complete a cycle. And I think, that's the way our week is. That's the way the earth, everything seems to be created around this periodic movement, if you will. So I recommend to people that they do this 6 days in a row and give themselves a break for a day.
Okay.
Then do it again for 6 days in a row and give yourself a break for a day. And you do that for 6 weeks straight. And then you give yourself a week off and see, yourself some time to reflect on what all you've been through in the last 6 weeks and what all you've been working on. And you'll find really interesting things happen. And maybe we'll jump back on here in 6 weeks and you can tell me what's different in Bria's life, okay?
All right, that sounds great. I feel exhausted right now. Like I just I don't know, ran on.
Actually, you were wrestling with your past.
Yeah.
That's a major exhaustive thing. But the thing is, you wrestle with your past every night.
Yes.
Sleep is exhausting when you have PTSD, because your brain flies those chemicals during your sleep and it doesn't make sense of them. And so you just wake up sweating and wonder why you've been wrestling all night.
Yeah.
Well, you'll start to make some really neat changes in the coming weeks. I would love it if you just kind of pay attention to those, write a few things down, some of the things that you're finding. You may find that after 2 or 3 weeks, you've got to dig fairly deep for some of the traumas to try and work on, because it starts changing how you interact with what you've been through. Just remember, it doesn't make any of it right. It just allows you to stop holding on to it so you don't have to keep reliving it over and over and over.
That's what I want.
That lets you move forward. I think that you must have been very inspired that we needed to have this visit. And I wasn't sure exactly what you'd be ready for today, but I can see this was exactly what you needed.
It was 100% exactly what I needed. And I've been, there's so much that this holds me back from so much, my PTSD. And I'm always looking for something, anything to just rewire my brain, really. And this is amazing. So I can't thank you enough for spending time and just for your whole process that got you to this place of discovering this. That's just, it's going to change so many people's lives. So
Well, thank you for taking some time with me. I'm going to stop the recording.